One of the things the Browns reportedly liked about Monken was the way his scheme can evolve. He's not a scheme-dependent guy. It depends on the personnel that he has. When he was hired as the Ravens offensive coordinator, talked about developing young players in his philosophy.
Any player that you get, you're fighting like hell to develop them and try to using what their elite trait is. You're always trying to find what that is. Where can they add value within a game plan? For instance, Wes Welker's with the Dolphins, catching 60 balls. They're a pro-style offense. He goes to New England. He's a 100-catch guy playing in the slot, Hall of Famer, right? Where can you find pieces that can play at an elite level of what you're asking them to do? For instance, any position's that way. You're not going to ask an elite punter to play out the left tackle. He has an elite trait, right? So where is your elite traits that you think can help you from a value? And then you're constantly trying to develop them to maximize their skill set. And then also they should always be trying to get to the upper level of their skill set. So I think that's one of the biggest things is you control who ends up in the room and you coach the hell out of them to try and get the most out of them that you can. And you only know that when you get young players is if you have a hard decision to make that they came in as a player and then they hit free agency and there's people that want them. Like you've got to the point where you have a hard decision to make. If you've gotten younger players and you haven't gotten them to that point and no one wants them, you haven't developed them.
Again, it's really it's very specific. I like what he said. And the other thing is you can see if you have an elite trait, you're looking for the weakness in the defense. And that's kind of the way he builds his offense.
Well, there's two things that makes me smile. It makes me smile because I get to think about my dad. And that was like my dad talking when I first started coaching. A couple things stick out to me. First of all, the flexibility in his scheme comes down to players over plays. And I think, you and I have said that ad nauseum for years. The idea that players make your scheme, and his scheme is flexible. He runs multiple tight ends, multiple formations, multiple personnel groups. He runs power, zone, gap schemes, zone schemes, gets 3, 4, 5 receivers out. He does all the stuff. He's very flexible when he's done what he does. He's not stuck to one thing because sometimes your scheme doesn't allow that with the personnel you have. So that's the first thing that you're going to get out of him that I absolutely love what he said there. The second thing is something that I had to learn, and I had to learn the hard way. As football coaches, we often say to ourselves, we are going to take this guy and we're going to fix what he does wrong. And the answer to that, my dad would always say, is why? Why not just take what the guy does well and maximize that? You can work on the things that he doesn't do well, but especially at the NFL level. That punter is a great example. So if I have a receiver who's a slot guy, don't make him run outside routes. If I have a guy who is 180 pounds, don't make him pass protect as a running back. Make him be a guy who always gets out. So there's some things that I really like what he says there. Players over plays, and let's focus on the strengths of our players, and let's use those, and let's not focus on what they can't do, but what they can do.
Yeah, and again, he's going to have to work hand in hand with Andrew Berry, especially offensively, because you got to rebuild the line, and you're going to have to tweak that receiving room to get what he needs.
Well, yeah, you got to go out and first of all, you got to rebuild the offensive line, and you got to decide. Todd Monken, he's bringing over as an O-line guy. Their gap scheme, like I said, very multiple in what they do, very similar to what the Browns have been running for years. And they change it up week to week. Like when they play the Browns, they use a lot of trap, counters, powers, and crunches because the Browns get upfield. But when you break down their film like I have over the years, they also run zone. They do outside zone. They do a bunch of different things depending on what they're going to see defensively. That's that week-to-week process that I really like out of Monken. So, but they got to go out and they got to get a big-time receiver. They got to get a big-time left tackle. They got to repair inside what they're going to do. This is a similar run scheme. Great offensive lineman can be in any scheme, but they're going to get guys that match the idea of, he's a physical guy. He's an old school physical run. Now, what he does is he adds some nuances with motion and kind of kept up with what the young guys are doing in the league and kind of mixes that with what he does. I think it's a great scheme. So I'm looking forward to see what he does, but you're absolutely right. This draft, I'm hoping they don't do an interview because I'm hoping these guys are down at the All-Star game starting to look at guys that they need because they need to hit like they did last year on the draft in all 7 rounds.